Are you curious about your fermentation options? This is just scratching the surface. Let's talk about it. Hello YouTube and welcome to the Homebrew Hobby channel. My name is Tim and I brew beer at home. Today is Homebrew Wednesday and I thought I would just talk about some of my fermenting vessels, maybe some pros and cons, why I have them, which ones I use, which ones I don't, and there you go. Let's get started. The first thing I wanted to mention is the wide array of what I have. So I've got the glass Carboys, I've got the plastic Carboys, the PET, I've got the smaller 3 gallon and 1 gallon, I've got the PET buckets, or the food safe plastic buckets, and then I've got this old school fermenter. This was my very first fermenter. So let's just talk about that. The very first one I wanted to talk about is this one right here. And this was given to me at Christmas by my brother-in-law because they knew I wanted to brew and I just hadn't gotten around to doing it myself. This is probably one of the ones, the more common ones that you would get at your local homebrew shop. And it's interesting because of a number of things. So, first, wide mouth. You pour your liquid in there, you close it up. Gives you a good seal because there's a nice rubber seal here. And you've got this neck here, which is like what you would have underneath a sink where it traps the liquid and that creates your airlock for you and the CO2 will just bubble out there. When you're ready to bottle, you've got this faucet right here and you can bottle directly. I used to have a bottling wand and it fits right in there. I put this up on a counter, I'd get down below and you could bottle right from there. These things probably go for about 25 bucks at your local homebrew store. I think it's great. Okay, so pros and cons of this thing. It's got a number of pros that I just mentioned as far as the faucet and you don't need an airlock and whatnot. It comes with its own handles, which are not that deep. So when it's full, you're actually just grabbing on with your fingertips. So not the greatest. Plus, you can't see into it, which, you know, I want to be able to see what's going on inside. Just want to see it. Okay, next. Okay, so the next thing is my glass Carboys. I've got probably about 8 of these, and I've got some 6 gallons, some 5 gallons. I've got one 3 gallon, which I don't think I've ever used for maybe some experimental batches. And I've got 2 1 gallons, which I have used for, don't remember what I used them for, but I have used them. Now, these are very, very common. If you want to get these off like the classified ads, they'll go, 10, 15 bucks. Inside a homebrew club, amongst the various members, you can probably get these for, $5 to $10. I went out of my way to purchase a milk crate from the local milk distributor. So I have a milk crate that matches every Carboy that I have, whether it's the plastic or the glass, because it just makes it that easier to carry, because otherwise that would be the first con of this thing, is once it's full, you need a way to carry it, whether it's with a bag or a crate or something. If you carry it just with your hands, you can do that. It's dangerous. It'll slip and bad things will happen. Another con is the neck is really narrow. So getting your wort in there, getting your yeast in there, gets in there. It's annoying, but you can deal with it. Pro for me, you can see what's going on in there. You can see the yeast. He's just hammering away at the sugars. I love it. My glass has actually been etched for volume, which is very cool. It's a friend of mine that did that with some acid and a template that he built. I have two like this, and it's very cool just for, you know, just for knowing how much volume you have. I have probably 7 or 8 of these. They're not terribly portable. They are because of this, but they're not terribly portable, and they take up a lot of space because, well, they essentially take up this space when you're not using them. But because they're glass, there's no leaching of any type. They're completely air sealed. Next. Okay, so now having mentioned the glass carboys, we have plastic carboys. Now these are from a company called Better Bottle, and it's actually the same size as this one. It's just a little larger, and these are more fun because I can literally just store them however and, you know, wherever I want. You can see through. So you can see the yeasties tacking the sugars, so I like that. And the throat is the neck is a little bit bigger, not terribly. These go for about 15 or 20 bucks. You're not going to find many of these used. So 15 or 20 bucks. One drawback is when you pick them up, okay, they will squeeze, which means that causes suction on the airlock, which means you're going to get some suck back. So whatever's in your airlock ends up in your brew. If you're using vodka or water, that's not the end of the world, but personally, I don't want anything in my brew that, you know, I didn't put there. One thing that I should mention is I have to buy different size bungs for my various fermenters, right? And you can see, I don't know if you can see the price on there, it was $4. So, you know, $4 plus 20 bucks, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Even though these are plastic, I have milk crates to carry them around because of this. And because they're plastic, the wife doesn't like it a whole lot, knowing that I ferment in these, just simply because even though they're PET and they say they're food safe, some people don't love the fact that you're fermenting in plastic. So that's a consideration. Okay, next. Okay, so the last option I have is these buckets, and so right away you're going to see the very first pro of these things is I have 1, 2, 3, 4 of these stacked just like this. They are huge. I think each one is either 42 or 48 liters. Okay, so these, I don't know if every single model comes like that, but these were all graduated, which means there's a painted line, which means I can see my volume. They're huge, so they're very, very simple to clean. You can get your hand right in there. They're opaque, so not necessarily see-through. So I can't really see what's going on in there, my yeasties and whatnot. But the way these work, and there's 2 different thoughts on this, is you can close them up, seal them real good. You drill a hole through the top, put a little rubber, and you put your airlock through the top like that. What I do is I just simply drop the cover on there, and what happens is as soon as the yeast start working away at the sugar, the first thing that happens is this area gets filled with CO2, and the CO2 slowly just pushes the air out until this is all filled with just CO2, and the CO2 is allowed to just escape on its own, and the CO2 creates a protective layer between the beer and the outside air. So I've never had a problem, and it affords me to take a peek every now and then, do it really quickly so you don't lose your CO2. They are also the best option for me when I know I want to do a dry hop. I use these because I literally just open the top, just pop in my muslin bag or my dry hop ball. Take a look in the description below. And that's the way I go. The drawback for these is because they're so big, they're kind of hard to carry. They come with these handles, but when they're full, they kind of dig into your fingers. But at the same time, I guess it's a pro because I don't use milk crates with these. They wouldn't fit anyhow. The way I look at it is the various pieces here all have their role to play. Now this is without even having touched on any of the canonical fermenters. You can get stainless steel, you can get all kinds of crazy apparatus for your fermenting. They can be really expensive. So I like my setup. I think it works for me. I know where everything goes. I know how I can store everything. And now that I'm looking around, I probably have way too many because I've never had them all full at once. But I have had, I think, 10 or 12 filled at once. So that meant I probably had about 4 or 6 empty. So I could probably unload a few. Well, anyways, there you go. So if you appreciate my videos, maybe give me a thumbs up. And if you want to see the rest of them or know when more videos are coming out, use the subscribe button down below. And if you're impressed by my collection or your collection is 10 times bigger, leave me a comment and maybe show off a little. All right. Have a good one.